No. No. No.
Jibber Jabber!
Hello, welcome to Jibber Jabber. We're building up now to the first of a series of happenings and just waiting for people to gather, and they will. It's going to be great.
When I was quite young, my sister and I, our dad had to work abroad for quite a while. He was working in America, and he used to write us and send us stories called Willie the Bee stories, which he made up. And he'd type us his stories and post them, this was obviously pre-email, post them back to my mum, and she would read us the stories. And it was really nice because he was away sometimes for sort of weeks, maybe months, and it just kind of kept us really connected.
Jibber Jabber!
Storytelling became our reason for coming together. But it wasn't me telling stories, it was him. And he was telling stories about his past, back then. And they were powerful. And I knew they were powerful at the time. And I wished I'd had a dictaphone to record them. But now, I'm glad I didn't. Because now the visual memories are there. And the feelings of the stories are there, in here.
I know what you mean. Roll a penny a
As I'm an illustrator, if I'm going to do a painting, I'll have to tell you a story at the same time. There was once a boy called Henry, and he lived by the sea in a grand hotel, which was owned by his mother and father. As he grew up, he spent all his days gazing out of the window, longing to go to sea and become a sailor. One day, some very mysterious men came into the hotel. Nobody knew who they were. Nobody had ever seen them before. They took him into a private room, and they opened out a map. This, they said, is a real pirate map. We've come here to buy a ship, and we're going to sail off to Cocos Island and search for treasure which we think is buried there.
We're going on a bear hunt, we're gonna catch a big one. What a beautiful day! A narrow, gloomy cave. We can't go over it. We can't go over it. We've got to go through it. We've got to go through it. Two big goggly eyes! Two big goggly eyes! Two brown furry ears! Two brown furry ears! And a wet brown nose! And a wet brown nose! It's a bear!
His mother had called him to her bedside, and she said, "My son, if ever you're in trouble, if ever you need help, sing this song and help will come." So there he was in the pitch black darkness, and in a little thin, frightened voice, he began to sing the song. There were voices in the darkness, and they were the strangest voices he'd ever heard. And he sang a little bit louder. Way-ana, 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 hey. Way-ana, 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 hey. The voices again. And some of them sounded as though they were coming from big people, and some of them sounded as though they were coming from little tiny people. And he sang the last part of the song. Yo ho ho ho, way-ana, hey. Yo ho ho ho, way-ana, hey. And all of a sudden, the great stone rolled away from the cave entrance, and the light came pouring into the cave. And the boy crawled out as fast as he could, and the light was so strong he had to cover his eyes with his fingers. And slowly he began to open his fingers and open his eyes. And as his eyes became used to the light, he saw outside there were people. And some of them were big and some of them were small. And he rubbed his eyes and he looked again. And then he saw they weren't people, they were animals.
As the bird ate, it seemed to grow in strength, first raising its head, then spreading its wings, before filling the forest with a song so beautiful and pure that it filled Jack's heart with joy. Once the bird had finished the crumbs, it hopped up onto a branch. Jack rose to his feet and followed as the bird hopped from branch to branch, from bush to bush. Now careful, that tickles. From bush to bush, until at last Jack heard the sound of voices and the clink of armour coming through the trees ahead. To his surprise, the bird had led him right to the foot of the tower.
My name is Caroline of Brunswick, and you may be wondering why a German princess is loitering in this graveyard. Well,
Yeah?
you are.
We are.
Well, I have come back to tell you about the wonderful Chelmsford citizen who is buried right here in this cathedral. Judge Nicholas Tyndall has helped me through one of the most trying periods of my life. And it was around this time that I would need his help. You see, my husband, having accused me of adultery, then brought me to trial for such a thing. Can you imagine? I would never do such... You can?
Now, before we unveil this to you, this pen is the clincher. This is the clincher. You're going to have your money out in just a second. Okay. The ultimate pocket pen. Ooh. Look at that. Oh yeah. The wonderful thing about this pen is it is pocket sized.
What does that mean exactly?
What does it mean indeed, Tom? It means it fits in your pocket.
I've had a terrible week. Thanks for the warm, yeah, thank you. No, more terrible than that. On Monday, I got made redundant from my job in what my boss described as a deadwood clearing exercise. On Tuesday, my girlfriend, Michelle, who I live with, told me she'd been doing the bedroom rumba with another guy. Obviously, I'm getting a bit of feedback here, but I think it's the best feedback I've had so far, so that's fine. Now, a lot of you probably noticed that it's market day today in Chelmsford, but did you know that cattle were paraded down this street on the way to market all the way up into the 19th century? You can see Monsoon here on your left. That's actually, well, outside there is actually where I first met Michelle, my ex-girlfriend. Interestingly, as you can see now, Starbucks, coming up on your right, Starbucks actually used to be a ladies' boarding school run by a lady called Mary Seaborn. She believed in teaching young ladies good manners. I imagine that involved teaching them things like how to walk with a book on your head, how to pronounce your P's and Q's, and how not to be a heartbreaking harlot. I think Michelle could have done with attending a few classes.
So you've been colluding with other stories, yes?
Yes, I have.
None of them filthy?
No, not so.
You haven't been corrupted yet?
No, not
Are
yet.
you sure?
I'm sure.
And there aren't any deep, dark secrets from your past?
No.
That you need to renounce?
No.
No?
Not.
A pure life? Yes? So tell me one. Tell me a story from somebody else. I will then judge if it is censorable or not. And I would hate to think that you get up to anything indecent.
No, gracious, no.
Indeed you are, okay.
Oh, you're
I am saved. Hurrah!
We're cutting up the newspapers, the Essex Chronicle newspapers, and we've got some photocopied stories from them as well. And using the words and the pictures as well if we want to make our own stories. So Chelmsford disappeared off the face of the earth and landed in a pot of marmalade.
My granddad was a trawlerman and he used to tell stories from his own life. Now, so he would sometimes kind of announce to the whole house he was going to tell a story, and the story was called a yarn. He came from Devon. So yarning is like, a yarn is also a name for cloth, so story is like making. But it like his wife, my grandmother, would call out, you know, grandfather's going to yarn. It means he's going to tell a story, so everyone would have to come to the living room and sit down and listen, and it was an event.
Jibber Jabber!
Silly! Said the snake. Well, okay. Explain it to me one more time, said the fox. And so the farmer and the snake explained, and the fox said, got it, got it. Very good. You snake and you horse moved the rock and found the farmer. Is that right? The snake said, no! Silly! The fox said, well look, I don't understand this at all. Why don't you show me what happened? And the snake said, yes. All right then, I'll show you. And he snuck back over and he put his back end under the rock. And the farmer came over and he patted down a little earth on one side and patted down a little earth on the other. And the snake was well and truly stuck. The snake looked up at the fox and said, now do you see? And the fox said, oh yes, now I see. And he winked at the farmer and he winked at the horse and he went on his way.
He neglects his guardianship. If he could, he would control the wind. Perhaps, if he listened to the creeping of aged roots, he might see that he has found a sense of place amongst the passing years.
And it's from way back in time, when my hair was dark and my beard was ginger. And there were 3 sisters, and 2 were beautiful, and one was covered in hair, from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet. And the 2 beautiful sisters, they lived in the middle of a forest with their mother in a cottage. You know, you'd think there'd be a few urban stories, wouldn't you? Lived in the middle of a city, gasworks on the corner. No, lived in the middle of a forest, nice little cottage. So it said, and 2 beautiful sisters turned around to Mum and said, Mum, we are never going to meet anyone here. Give us that cake you're baking in the oven and we'll be off to seek our fortune. Mum said, take half the cake and go with my blessing, or the whole cake and go without. They said, forget the blessing, we're hungry. Off you go.
Anger be now your song, immortal goddess. Achilles' anger doomed and ruinous, that caused the Achaeans loss on bitter loss, and crowded brave souls into the undergloom, leaving so many brave men, carrion for birds and dogs, and the will of Zeus was done.
Begin it when the 2 men first contending broke with one another. The Lord Marshal Agamemnon, Atreus' son, and Prince Achilles. Among the gods, who brought the quarrel on, the son of Zeus, by Leto.
Because when I was actually doing rhymes and getting used to wordplay, we used to go deep with the wordplay. And when I get deep with the wordplay, actually, Project a phrase with a win, 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 win. And suddenly it starts to go in. And then you understand the metaphorical phrase coming out of the brain comes from the diamethyltryptamine that secretes in the pineal gland. And that makes me bless the microphone stand. And you can understand everything coming out of my mouth will actually bless the bar, house. And you'll find that you can rhyme off the top of the dome, the pugilistic, untouchable, diabolical flow, and then you can drop your vocabulary. And then you can shout out your name like the man did in the middle. My name is Henry. And then you can actually listen to the words in the dark humor of the comic. And then you gotta give respect to the people who put the night on. Then you gotta understand you can use a metaphorical phrase to actually resurrect those that have died in the grave. And your job is actually to utilize your breath, not for hand claps and all for people to say, oh, you're wicked, man, you're bad. You have to actually leave a message, and not perform for hand claps and crowd elevation and groupies' phone numbers that you meet at festivals. So you do have to stand the responsibility when you step the mic stand, because you are usually performing to some people who are intoxicated of alcohol. Then you got some people at the back who might not even actually be listening to what you're saying, so you have to make sure your delivery has got many special effects that actually keep people's attention.
Just another still Friday afternoon. We killed time by the pond in the saddening weather. An itching bird flushed ticks from its feathers. We laughed at his face, we smiled at his tune. But soon you just placed me your question invasive. Your face turned and instantly rainbow replaced into shadows. Anxiety racked as the fact is the blade of your spade ran too deep. Unnerved, some things you appreciate don't want unearthing that girl, you said. Why were you hurting that girl? Oh, so you thought through my book to look at the juicy lips when you're in locks, the gold and a mask. Squirty that trip with the bells of the whip. The blood red drip from my hand. The tickle of tongue in a belly. Your amazed with face when really upset to the relish of blaze. My phraseology or imagination. Dances in Horace's my manic grin as I petty and trusty. You stare at me. What you wanted, apology to your words. I broke the yours. I earned my favorite knots. I don't see the friction burn. So stop staring up with your puppy dog eyes. I won't pretend below stuff part of my life. I'll admit I exaggerate all the time line. I won't keep this quiet.
I was working in Wales once. Someone come and he said, I want my eyebrows to get a bit shorter and trim it down. And the boy goes, we're doing hot wax now for eyebrows. Do you want to try it? So yeah, then he put hot wax on top of his eyebrow. And hot wax is just licking down a bit, but he didn't see it. Then after like 2 minutes after he pulled all off, then his all eyebrows come off, all off, everything. And the man started crying. I don't know, that was one of the funny things for me. Eyebrows doesn't grow too quick.
Jibber Jabber!